All right. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to the first live edition of American Soccer Quick Kicks. I'm your host, David Wright. I haven't done much of these in the past year or so. I um, I was doing pretty well with the channel. It was growing. It was gaining traction. I was happy enough with the numbers, but I took about 6 or 7 months off. Actually, more like 8 or 9 months off to produce my Beatles versus Beach Boys podcast called Apples and Oranges. And then when I came back to this and did a couple of videos, my audience had left me. They weren't finding me. And I decided I got discouraged. I didn't do a lot of these anymore after that. But, then the whole stuff happens with the Gold Cup news that came out this past week with Christian Pulisic basically declining the call to represent his nation in the top competition in CONCACAF, and that really kind of burned me up, and I think it's rubbing a lot of people the wrong way, and it just fired me up, and I needed a place to talk about it. So and then I remembered that my soccer channel wasn't just for reaching people, it was to give me an outlet so I can talk soccer when there's actually not a lot of people around me that want to hear me talk about soccer. So I'm going to put it online, and hopefully the people that are interested can find it. So I want to thank those of you that are still sticking with my channel and are allowing me to do this. It takes a certain number of minimum subscribers to pull it off. I got a couple of people live in the room with me, at least one. So I want to thank them for joining me for this. But, you know, uh, I'll see how this goes. I think I'm going to enjoy doing this because it's going to eliminate all the post-production, eliminate all the processing time, and just kind of make it easier for me. So it's probably going to be a little more conversational. I'm trying to keep my energy down. I tend to get real hyped when I'm doing these. I want to be a little bit more naturalistic with it. I make this channel, number one, to kind of, if I'm producing regular content, I want to make it so that it is a place for casual fans to keep up with the big news and without having to go into like full deep dives and stuff. People, I'm not an analyst. I'm not an expert. I don't have sources. I'm just a fan. And hopefully, if you get excited enough about it, interested enough in it, you'll go to some of the more professional sources. But I'm just here sharing my enthusiasm and trying to keep you up to date on the headlines. And at the same time, if I can be a gateway for new fans that want to learn and aren't familiar with it as much as they would like to be, then I want to be that source for you too, so you can send me in comments or questions that you might have. I'm going to get the Christian Pulisic news. That is the major news. This is the last big competitive event that we have leading up to next year's World Cup. It seems like it should be a very important opportunity, a very big opportunity for us to try to really bring in all our best players and really start to get things right. And that doesn't seem like it's going to happen. We continue to fumble the ball when it comes to our preparation for hosting next year's World Cup. Before I get to that, I want to touch on a couple of other items. If you're familiar with my channel, you know that one thing that I love about this sport and about American soccer are all the various trophies and competitions that clubs can compete for. It's more than just the MLS regular season championship for the clubs, and it's more than just the World Cup for the national team. There's lots of things going on, and the summer always seems to be a busy time. I've branded them in the past as the summer of soccer. That is absolutely the case again. This year, we are ramping up. The MLS season is almost halfway through. We have some surprises there. We also have the US Open Cup, and we have the Gold Cup. We have the Club World Cup, and of course, we have the Gold Cup. I'm not sure if I said that. So, real quick, I'm going to touch on these other things before I get to Pulisic because I'm going to spend some time on him. So, first of all, the MLS regular season. So one of the great things, and it can be infuriating, but it can also be one of the things that makes the league so compelling, is the fact that there's such parity in the league, and it's so much. There's so much movement between who's good and who's bad from year to year. So basically, if you're having a really good championship year, enjoy it while you can. It's almost guaranteed to not last long. Look at Atlanta; they won it all in 2018, and they basically have been terrible ever since. Last year, the LA Galaxy, who had several years of not making the playoffs, they win it all. They lift the cup. They are the league champions, and they are now currently the worst team in the league and are on pace to set a new record for the worst season ever. So it's kind of crazy how that goes. And then you've got a team like Vancouver, who's never been great. They've always kind of been the lower reaches of qualifying for the playoffs. And their owner wants out. He's got the team for sale. And, that's typically when kind of the public support bottoms out and no one's putting any effort into the club. And, it's usually those are bad days for a club. But somehow Vancouver, with a new manager, but largely the same roster, is the best team in the league. They're on top of the whole table, and they're surprising everybody. And then you've got a team like Miami that has Lionel Messi, and it has his former Barcelona teammates, Busquets, Alba, and Suarez, and they're cratering, and they're dropping all the way down. They're 11th in the Supporter Shield standings, which is the single table for the overall league. And they're like 5th or 6th, I think, in the conference standings. So everybody's shocked by that. Obviously, you put that team together to win championships, and they are not doing that. So we got some surprises on the negative side with like LA and Miami, and Atlanta had a roster turnover, spent a lot of money. They were supposed to be really good. Everybody projected them in top 4. They're in the bottom 4. They're doing absolutely terrible. No one can understand why, even though they had a huge win yesterday against one of the best clubs in the league, Cincinnati. They somehow figured it out yesterday. Doesn't do much for them right now in the standings, but if they've unlocked something that's going to allow them to start tapping their potential, then maybe things are going to change for them and turn it around. I don't know. I'm frustrated. Atlanta's my first team. I'm from Georgia. I was at their inaugural match. I was there for the ride when they won all the championships and all the trophies, and it's infuriating to see them kind of bottom out like this. On the other hand, just before Nashville joined the league, I moved to the Nashville area, and so I was also present for their inaugural season, and I was at their inaugural match. So despite any rivalries that might exist between the fan bases, I'm a fan of both clubs. Right now, Nashville is having their best season ever, and I think they're now 3rd in the conference. I can check that real quick, but they're doing fantastic. So I'm wearing their jersey today. Although I also, obviously, if I could pick, I would want to see Atlanta being the one on top. But congratulations to Nashville there. Anyway, so I want to talk about first of all, let me just get the Open Cup out of the way. The Open Cup, I love the Open Cup. You've probably heard me talk about it before. We are actually in the 110th edition of that tournament. It's been going on since like 1912, 1913, since before World War I. It went uninterrupted through both world wars and through all the decades. The only thing that interrupted it was the COVID pandemic. But we're back on track. The Open Cup is back in business. It's changed a little bit. It changes from year to year, but right now, not all American MLS teams participated in this year's tournament. And that was a source of a lot of controversy, a lot of debate, because you may recall me talking before about how a couple of years ago we started the Leagues Cup, which stops both the MLS season and the Mexican season. Liga MX is the name of their league. It interrupts both of their seasons. Everything stops, and they play a month-long tournament with every team from both leagues. And, in theory, I think that could be good. I was excited for it. I still am a little bit. You get to see all of the clubs from each country play each other, not just the top in these like continental competitions. And I think MLS did it in hopes of capturing that the TV viewing audience of the Mexican League and get them to sample Major League Soccer and maybe add them to the fan base. And I don't know how much that's working, and I don't know how well it's going over generally, although I like the competition. It's coming at the cost of the Open Cup, and I don't like that. I would rather not have the Leagues Cup and preserve the history and the tradition of the Open Cup. And what happened this year is basically all the MLS teams that didn't make the playoffs last year, which is a minority of the league. The ones that did not qualify for the playoffs, they are the only ones from MLS top flight that are participating in the Open Cup. And then for the other teams, they all have developmental teams in the lower leagues that are representing them. So that is, I've talked about it before. I've had guests on to talk about that. it's a tournament that it basically never stops, because before you get to the final, you're already starting the early qualifying rounds for the next iteration, because you're starting at the very bottom of amateur level, and every team in America has the potential to play in this tournament, has the potential to win this tournament. And of course, the later rounds you get to, only then do the upper leagues start to join the tournament, and the MLS teams come in very late. But it's really a celebration of minor league soccer and the semi-pro and the minor league level, and to see them playing in a tournament that means everything to them. Really, the lower division you're playing in, the more important the Open Cup is. It becomes this mythical trophy. And as you get into the later rounds, you have opportunities for these David and Goliath matchups with like minor versus major league, dream scenarios for these minor league players. I love it. I love absolutely everything about it. The Pittsburgh Riverhounds were the last, you call it minor league team, to survive in the tournament this year. They made it all the way to the round of 16. They were the only one. They were the only non-MLS team in the round of 16. And that's when they fell. Every team, the last surviving team of every division, gets a payout. And so Pittsburgh gets that payout. We're down to the quarterfinals now, and it's all MLS. And the quarterfinals will be played in July. We've got semifinals in September and the final in October. I love that tournament. I love the history and tradition of it. It's largely been on Paramount Plus this year. I don't know if they've announced where these final rounds will be played, but as we get toward the final, I think they go to higher and higher profile platforms. So just keep a lookout for that. I'll try to keep you updated here. Then we've got something kind of new. We have the Club World Cup. So what you try to do as a club is you try to qualify for Champions Cup, right? Champions League, whatever you want to call it. The one in Europe, of course, is very famous and probably represents the peak of the sport in the world. But every confederation has an equivalent. And so CONCACAF has one. It's now called CONCACAF Champions Cup. And you play in order to qualify for that. And you get so many slots that are awarded to the United States, Mexico, all the Central American countries, and you play for your Champions Cup, basically, your Champions League. And then what's always happened is all the Champions League champions from around the world play in the Club World Cup. Now, that sounds like it ought to be awesome. It's typically been a very small tournament. You only got like 7 confederations. So there's 7 people that qualify, and then like the host nation gets a slot to fill out the bracket. And it has historically been in December. It's not been high profile. Clubs are not prioritizing it. They're sending their B and C level squads, and it just hasn't been a big deal. And FIFA has decided to expand this and tried to make it a much bigger deal. For the first time, this is now a 32-team tournament. And to fill it out, they're taking the previous 4 winners of every Confederation Championship, Champion League stuff, and then filling it out with a couple of others. So what's happened is that CONCACAF, in this Club World Cup, CONCACAF gets 4 slots. And so and MLS has not had a lot of success in Champions League or Champions Cup ever. But in 2022, the Seattle Sounders actually won it all. And that was a huge deal for us. And they got to play in the Club World Cup that year. And that was a massive thing for the league. But now, because they've expanded this and they're reaching back 4 years, Seattle gets brought back in. So Seattle is the only MLS club that qualifies this through the winning of their Champions League. But there are some others playing. So the other slots representing CONCACAF are coming from Mexico. I think it's Monterrey and Pachuca. And then there was Leon. But Leon has been disqualified from the tournament. Something about single ownership or multiple ownership rule. Like Pachuca and Leon are owned by the same people. And so that wasn't allowed to happen for the tournament, which is kind of weird because MLS is actually a single entity and all the clubs are owned by the league. And those are weeds I don't want to get into right now. But anyway, you've got Monterrey and Pachuca still in the tournament and Seattle's in the tournament, but this 4th slot has become open. And this has had to go to arbitration to kind of figure out what to do with it. And what's going to happen is LAFC and help me out, Club America are going to play in a special one-off play-in match to see who gets the final slot in the Club World Cup. That's actually going to happen on May 31st. And so there's a lot riding on that. I would love to be able to see that match. And then they have a slot just for the host. And America, the United States, we're hosting this tournament. So FIFA just gets to pick who they want. I guess FIFA picked it. Maybe it was Major League Soccer, but big surprise, they picked Inter Miami. Inter Miami has not earned this through any kind of sporting merit, but they do have some marquee power on their roster. You may be aware of that. And so they decided that might be a good way to sell some tickets to this event. So we are definitely getting at least 2 MLS clubs. Seattle and Miami are going to be in this tournament, and possibly LA if they can win their play-in match. And so I want this to be a big deal. This seems like this should be a really cool thing to play the World Cup, but with clubs and not countries. Let's see who is the best club in the world. I would love for this to be a huge deal that clubs care about, that managers care about, that fan bases care about. I'd like to see this be a big thing. I'm not sure that it is, but I'm going to be watching. It starts on June 14th, and it's going to last for about a month. So I would check that out if I were you. The other thing that's happening starting on June 14th is the Gold Cup. So, okay. The Gold Cup is not a club competition. It is an international competition. All right. So the United States men's national team is going to be competing in the Gold Cup. Now, what is the Gold Cup? Have you heard of the Euros? Have you heard of Copa America? Okay. These are the top level Confederation Championships in international play. Think of the Euros or the European Championships as a Europe only World Cup. That's a pretty big deal, right? That's a pretty good level of play. It's massive. Everybody loves it. It's a huge thing in the world of soccer. When it comes to international play, it's probably the next best thing below the World Cup. The South American Confederation, CONMEBOL, it has Copa America. It's almost just as big a deal, right? The Gold Cup is ours. Now, we're CONCACAF, and who cares? But it's what we have, okay? So the Gold Cup is our Euros, is our Copa America. Now we have a bunch of tiny like Caribbean and Central American countries, and it's like we're outside of Mexico. It's never been huge. Soccer's never been huge culturally, I don't guess, but the United States has had a lot of success in the last 20, 30 years, and it just seems like we just don't care about it. Now, it's hard enough to get the fan base to care about it, right? Because it's not the Euros. It's not Copa America. It's not the best. CONCACAF sucks. Well, you know what? It's what we have. And we ought to care about it. Like, if you're going to be an American soccer player, your career goal should be to get called up to the national team. That is the honor. That's what you want to do. You want to wear the red, white, and blue. And it should be important to you. Well, what are the major competitions? Obviously the World Cup, but what else after that? The Gold Cup is at the top of that list. It's our CONCACAF championship. You want to show that you're the best country in your region. How can you compete in the World Cup if you can't win your own region? And so even if the fan base can't get on board yet, because even when you win, what have you won? Oh, you won CONCACAF. Well, I mean, we can't go play in the Euros. This is what we have, right? You got to play the games in front of you. But the players don't seem to care, and that's what bothers me. So not only are we missing a lot of key players, and I'm about to get to Pulisic, but we have to look at it this way. This current generation was our generation. This was our golden generation. This was the core group of players that were supposed to bring us our highest level of success. And they are now in the prime. Like, they had to step up and play too early, like early in their careers. There's a whole ripple effect on our lack of success in the Olympics because of it, because all these guys had to come up early when we failed to qualify in 2018. But now they're in the prime of their careers. They're like 25, 26, 27 years old. These are the guys we expect them to be at the top of their game. And when you look at the clubs they play for, it's an unparalleled pedigree of clubs. AC Milan, Juventus, they're playing in Premier League, they're in the Bundesliga. Wow, we ought to be okay, right? Well, we're not. I mean, I don't know what's happening, but obviously last year, still under manager Greg Berhalter, The challenge with hosting the World Cup is that you don't get to participate in the qualifying matches, which is the trial by fire, right? Which are highly competitive, and you got to win, and there's a lot on the line, and you're going to play your best. We skip all that. And so the challenge becomes, where are the competitive matches? Where's the toughness? Where are we going to get forged as we prepare for the World Cup? And so because everybody else is busy qualifying and we only have a certain number of windows for dates for matches, it becomes real tough to find good quality opposition during this phase. And about the only thing we had going on was Nations League, which is it's a schedule that you play within CONCACAF, only in the international windows, and you play for a trophy. And there's a lot to it. I can get into it, but I've done it before. You can find it on my channel. But the United States has always won those until this year. We failed. And that's an embarrassment. We ought to be better than that. And we got eliminated from Copa America last year. Okay, that was the big thing. That was the event that we circled between World Cups for. This is where we're going to get our best competition. We're going to play Argentina and Brazil and all these people. And then we got eliminated. We didn't even get out of the group stage, and we got eliminated by Panama, another CONCACAF nation that was invited to the tournament. So we laid an egg at Copa America. We just lost that opportunity. And then we play Nations League, and we lose it. So we can't even beat, our CONCACAF competition. I'm not even talking about Mexico. I think it was Panama again that eliminated us. And so what's left? There's only so many opportunities for competitive matches. We changed managers. We brought in Mauricio Pochettino, Premier League manager, highly respected. You can't ask for a bigger hire. Well, the thing about international soccer, you can't go swapping out your roster. You're limited to who qualifies as being a citizen of your country. We have largely the same player pool, and we're getting the same results. And he, of course, he tried some guys in the January camp, and he's giving the performances there a lot of weight. You're seeing them come back now. And well, it's just we're not there. And I'm concerned because the body language, as I'm seeing from Pochettino, is that he's I don't know. I feel like he's discouraged and he's kind of given up. But here's the thing. Christian Pulisic is the captain of the team. He's supposed to be our leader. And I think it's obvious that he's not one of these vocal leaders that's going to be a strong personality in the locker room. But he's been the poster boy for American soccer since, 2017 or so. And he wears the captain's armband. And it gets time for the Gold Cup, which is the last thing we have left, right? It's just friendlies and Nations League stuff between now and the World Cup. This is all we got. We blew it with Copa America. Well, let's make something out of Gold Cup. We need to rally the troops, fire everybody up. Let's make sure we've got our best roster, the best players in the best position with the new manager. Give him time to see us, and let's figure this out. The World Cup is next year. And Christian Pulisic says, no. No. I don't want to come. I've played too many minutes this year, and I don't want to play in the Gold Cup. Where do you even start with that? Where do you start with that from a leadership perspective, from a competitive spirit perspective? Yes, he's played a lot of minutes, and maybe there's a risk of injury, but isn't there a risk of injury every time you play? And if you're going to lay it all on the line, Gold Cup is the time to do it. I don't know why he's not fired up. And what does that set? What kind of tone does that set for the rest of the team? What kind of message does that send? Not only that, when you look at the roster, we're missing a lot of people out of this roster. And I'm not saying they're all wimping out. Some, I would imagine all, I don't really know. The other absences are justified. But, like Jedi Robinson's our top left back. He's not here. Tim Weah is not here. Gio Reyna is not here. Weston McKennie is not here. When I started this channel in 2022, I said, look, we're going to host the World Cup in 26. Maybe you don't know this team now. Stick with me. I'll lead you through this. You'll get to know the team and the players, and we'll be ready. These are the names. This is our core group of supposedly star players. And here we are at the Gold Cup, and none of them are on the roster. And Pulisic is like, nah, I don't want to come. I don't want to show up. Uh, there's no sense of urgency. There doesn't even seem to be a sense of honor. Like it's a privilege to be playing for the national team. Like they don't care about it at all. It seems annoying. It seems like, Pochettino, just before the roster came out, Pochettino put out a statement that said, look, guys are coming over here thinking this is going to be a vacation. They can go hang out with their buddies and play some golf. And that's not what we're about. We got business to take care of. We need to get in camp and start focusing on the game. And basically speaking to the casual culture that surrounds this team right now. And like within a week, Pulisic puts out this announcement. Goodness. All right. And I've seen analysts, I think it was Hercules Gomez, he's looking at the roster that we have coming in and comparing it to the rest of our competition in Gold Cup. He's slotting us to finish maybe fourth. Or like we're with the team we're putting on the field, we're going to be maybe the fourth best team out there. And we really should be making it to the final. And we should at least be trying. We should care enough to try. Our best players should be there. So we don't get any other like real like competitive matches where there's real stakes on the line. This is it. After the Gold Cup, we'll have some dates. We'll have some matches. Some have already been announced. We'll still do the Nations League thing. I think that's not a big deal. And then in less than a year, we're hosting the World Cup. We're hosting the World Cup. And when you're playing on a home soil and you got your golden generation in the prime of their careers and you got a Premier League manager, boy, you ought to be feeling good. Well, we have mismanaged every stage of this. We have fumbled the ball every step along the way. And while I have remained more optimistic than most over the last 8-10 years, there's no reason to be optimistic. I am so disgusted by the attitude and the atmosphere and the culture surrounding the team. This seems like the low point. It seemed like a low point when we failed to qualify for the 2018 World Cup for the first time in 30 years. We didn't make it. But it's worse when the players don't even care. And it's not even worth showing up for on the last competitive event before the World Cup. Can it get worse? I mean, tell me. So after the blowback, I saw a report about how he has a hurt hip. Hey, maybe he does. But that's not the reason it was given. And I haven't seen that story get a lot of legs. Pochettino made a point of putting out a press release that included the statement from Pulisic's club, AC Milan, so that we could see with their words why Pulisic was not coming to this tournament. And basically he was just tapping out because he's played a lot this year. Okay. I am over Christian Pulisic. He definitely does not need to be the captain anymore. Strip the armband now and make him earn any future call-ups. Gio Reyna also is someone who's given us prima donna issues in the past, and it has shown to be really a terrible personality, although I love his talent. We do have Serginho Dest back for the Gold Cup. He's been out with a major injury for over a year. He's our top choice at right back. He ought to be a part of this group that I'm talking about with these big names. But and so it's good that he's back, but what's he going to do by himself? Tyler Adams is here, and I think Tyler Adams should be the one who's the captain. But we have a lot of MLS players here, which, I'm familiar with and I'm going to be happy to watch play. But is this the best the U.S. can put on the field? It's not. And are we trying to win a World Cup or are we not? And it's just extremely discouraging. The Major League Soccer is in its 30th year. 30 years of Major League Soccer. It is the legacy of the 1994 World Cup. We hosted the World Cup in 94. Part of our pitch, part of our commitment to FIFA for landing that event was that we would start a professional outdoor first division league. That was our promise to FIFA. We will use the World Cup to launch a league. And it worked out. And here we are 30 years later, and it's great to see. And you would think that hosting another World Cup would only level us up that, get another exponential bump for the sport in this country. And I don't think that's going to happen because we're going to do terrible. Like after the last World Cup, we reached the round of 16. And I said, I mean, we graduated out of group play. We made it to the round of 16, and I was like, okay, this is the cap for this team. This is all I expected. This is a successful World Cup. If we make it to the quarterfinals, great, but we shouldn't expect it, and we didn't. That's okay. But I said I'm raising the bar for 2026. We have to at least make the quarterfinals for it to be a successful World Cup. We made the quarterfinals in 2002. We were one obvious bad ref call away from being in the semifinals that year. And so we got to at least make the quarterfinals if we're going to call this the best generation we've ever had, whatever. I don't know. I'm through with that label too. These guys have proven to not be warriors. They're talented kids that have been told they're talented their whole lives, and now they bought into their own hype, and they're not trying hard enough, and they're hungry enough. And I'm ready to just burn it and just bring in people that want to be there and consider it an honor. Anyway, what do y'all think? I'm looking at the comments now. Alabama Barbecue Chase is with me. Let's see. Yeah, talking about the 1980 hockey team. Some of the best American players, just guys who gave it their all. Isn't that the bare minimum from a professional athlete? You expect them to give their all. When you're talking about the competitions that count, right? This isn't some exhibition. This should matter. The Gold Cup should matter to American soccer players, even if it doesn't mean as much to soccer fans when they can just as easily watch the Euros or the Copa America. For the American soccer player, at the very least, for the soccer player, the Gold Cup ought to be a big deal. The World Cup ought to be a big deal. Playing for your nation, representing your country on the field should be a big deal. It should be an honor. It should be a career highlight, something that you do not take for granted, and lay it all on the line. And I don't see any fire from this core group of players. And I think our manager is just as over it as I am. So I think we are at the low point right now. And regardless of what we do with the Gold Cup, the message that's sent, the optics of our captain just saying, no, I don't want to bother. It's gross to me. It fired me up enough that I wanted to bring my YouTube channel back out of the mothballs because I needed to be able to vent all this. And I call this channel Quick Kicks because I want everything to be brief, right? I want it to be quick. And this one isn't. That's okay. I had to get off my chest. Maybe the future ones will be short. But those that are watching live and those that will watch this later, thank you. I hope you'll stick with me. It's only because I meet the minimum number of subscribers that I'm able to go live. I think I'm going to do this more in the future because it makes it a lot easier. No post-production. And if I get the numbers, if my audience comes back, because I was happy with what it was doing a couple years ago. If my audience comes back, I'll do these on a very regular basis. If not, I'll come back when I have something on my chest that I need to get off. So we have the Gold Cup, we have the Club World Cup, we have the US Open Cup, MLS regular season. It is the summer of soccer. I love this sport. I hope you do too. So in the meantime, wait, hold on. We got some comments. Who we got? We got Chuck Bryan in the room, big Premier League fan, just wanting to start to watch the US and getting into it. Okay, so thank you, Chuck. Let me comment on that. So everybody, as a soccer fan in this country, you get ragged a lot for liking something that nobody cares about. It's kind of on the fringes. And you always hear this is the sport of the future, the sport of the future. Everybody's going to like it. It's growing. And then Major League Soccer, the profile still hasn't gotten very big for Major League Soccer. And now they're behind a paywall on Apple TV. And it's a little bit tougher for casual fans to check it out, right? Although occasionally they have a game on Fox, I think. Here's the deal. We launched the league coming out of '94 World Cup, and we said we're going to grow it, but we needed, obviously, to capture that TV audience. Here's what it comes down to, and it speaks to Chuck's comment. There is a viable, critical mass TV viewing audience of soccer fans in the United States. That critical mass number, that fan base does exist. It's there. They're watching tons of soccer on TV. The plot twist is that they're not watching Major League Soccer, because when we started the league in 1996, you couldn't very easily watch live matches of the Premier League or Serie A or Bundesliga or Liga MX. And now in 2025, all that is very easily accessible, especially for people that want to find it. And so we have soccer fans watching soccer every week in big numbers in America. They're just not watching our own league. And so I understand you're a Premier League fan. That's fine. My attitude is I don't care if it's, Manchester City versus Liverpool or any of the biggest clubs over there. I don't have a rooting interest. Like, I can't care about it. Maybe there's an American on the roster somewhere, and I'm like, I hope he does well. But I mean, I'd rather watch Cincinnati versus Columbus than Liverpool versus Chelsea because I have stakes in the league. I have Atlanta and Nashville, and how other teams in the conference do affect my clubs. And I watch this league every week, and I know the fans. So it's just, it doesn't have to be the best for me in the world. It just has to be entertaining, and it is, and I have stakes in it. And the great thing about soccer is it's so big that it can be very small. And what I mean by that is that there are clubs everywhere. And the best thing Major League Soccer has going for it, the best thing, and this will win you over, Chuck, go to a match. Go to a match. Especially, maybe not DC United. I think that's where that's your area. They don't bring in the big crowds, but most of the stadiums around the league are packing in 80 to 90% capacity week in and week out. The best thing Major League Soccer has going for it is the game day experience. You will have fun. I don't know how many fans are just watching on TV and never going to matches. It seems like the stadiums are packed, but that might be all the league has. But that's okay. You go there, you'll have a blast. And the other thing is the minor league teams. You start looking at USL and USL League One. You start getting into smaller communities. I guarantee you there is a minor league or a semi-pro team very close to you. And if you just go out to the match, get out in the sunshine, touch some grass, and cheer your guys on, you'll have fun. That is what soccer is all about. It starts at the grassroots. I'm particularly excited right now because my hometown of Columbus, Georgia, has a new semi-pro team. They're in the 4th tier of the American soccer pyramid. They're USL League 2. They're called Columbus United. The ownership group consists of people that I played against back in high school. So that's pretty fun. And they actually are in a league where there is a team close to where I live in Tennessee. And so I'm going to be going to check that out. And you know what? It's semi-pro minor league. Like, who cares? You'll have fun. That's what it's all about. And anyway, I've rambled. I've gone too far. Guys, thank you so much for being in the chat with me, for following this. This probably went half an hour. I don't know. I'll try to keep them shorter, but let me know. Let me know. Do I have it wrong with Pulisic? Do I have a bad take? Like, what's the other way of looking at this? What's the best thing the US men have going for it right now? Like, I right now, things seem bleak to me, and I'm highly discouraged. But if you've got a reason for me to not be so down on it, let me know, because right now it seems like it really is as bad as it looks. So, all right. So I'm going to sign off right here, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. And I think I like this. I think I like going live. I'll probably do it more in the future. I'll try to keep them shorter. Anyway, stay tuned. The Gold Cup starts on the same day as the Club World Cup, which is June 14th. And so just tune into those, and I'll try to check back in with you as we progress through that tournament. Until then, watch some soccer with me, and I'll talk to you next time. See you later.